Okay, our first committee of the day is the Planning and Economic Development Committee. Those committee members are Fusco, Kamer, Connor, Baylor, and Mosley. We do have all members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We do have two items that are up for a public hearing today. The process is that we will receive a report from the Planning Department in reference to a recommendation with regards to the conditional use request that we have before us. And we will then receive that report. We will then, all those that wish to testify, we will ask that you be sworn in by a representative of our law department. After that, we'll open up the public hearing and receive testimony in favor or against a proposal that's up for public hearing. We'll close the public hearing after that. Then we will ask for questions or comments from committee, and then questions or comments from any council members. And what we will do is repeat that process this evening at 7 o'clock. And those obviously are invited to come back this evening at 7 o'clock. The only major difference between then and now is that we will make a recommendation. The Planning Committee of Council will make a recommendation to all of Council, either in favor, against, or to table, take time on an item. So those are the processes. Okay, thank you. And the first item that's up for a public hearing today is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a restaurant at 497 East Waterloo. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Captain D LLC is requesting permission to construct a fast food style seafood restaurant at this location. The proposed development includes a 2,100 square foot building with parking for 28 vehicles, including 2 handicap spaces, and stacking space for 13 vehicles that wraps around the north side of the building to a drive-through window on the west side. Ingress and egress from a single curb cut along Waterloo Road. The proposed development would be situated within the center of the property, yet will leave a grass area buffer of approximately 30 feet on the east and west of the parking areas and a minimum of 40 feet towards the residences to the north. A 6-foot fence will be 5 feet from the pavement and parallel to the northern portion of the property to provide 35 feet of green space with evergreens to buffer this residential area. Additional landscaping buffers would be between the driveways and the right-of-way along Waterloo Road. The commissioner estimates the restaurant will employ a combination of 25 to 30 full-time, part-time employees with an annual sales projection of over $1 million. The planning staff's of the opinion that the proposed restaurant development would not be out of character with the other retail and restaurant uses along this Waterloo Road corridor and should not have a negative impact on the neighborhood if properly screened as proposed. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to guide the location of new retail development so that it will be convenient to residents served and will have minimal impact on adjacent properties. The planning staff and planning commission recommend approval subject to the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we'll ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak before the committee and testify during this public hearing portion to be sworn in from a representative from our law department.
Good afternoon. Please stand if you're able and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please affirm by saying it. Thank you.
Why, thank you. We'll now open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal. If you could please provide for the committee address and welcome your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am Bob Constand, 2166 Charles Lane, Akron, Ohio, 44333. I am counsel for Captain D's. I have a representative from the real estate department with me as well. Just to summarize what Mr. Antonucci said, I think this is their first location in Northeast Ohio. They picked Waterloo Road because they think that's going to be a great market for them. And I think this is an exciting opportunity for the city. And I'm here to answer any questions you have. We did make some last-minute revisions after Councilman Kamer asked for some things, and I think we've been able to satisfy his requests, and we gladly did it. So I'll field any questions.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments, and we'll open up for questions after the public hearing portion. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this conditional use request? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak against? Nobody online? Okay, very good. We'll close the public hearing portion of this public hearing, and we'll open for questions from any of the committee members at this time. Any committee members have any questions or comments? I see Mr. Kamer's hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the time to make. I appreciate the dialogue that I've had with the petitioner's attorney and Mike Annucci from our city planning department. I know this property has been vacant for a very long time, even before I got on council, and I think this is a good fit for the neighborhood. I just have one resident that had a few concerns, and hopefully by me working with Mike Annucci and the petitioner's lawyer that we were able to satisfy that neighbor, and hopefully there'll be a good neighbor to the neighborhood, a good business in the community, and that's it. I just want to thank them for working with me and making sure that hopefully this is a good fit for the community. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions or comments from any committee? Any council members have any questions or comments? I assume that you're okay.
Mr. Chair.
Discussed?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. And the buffering in the back, toward the back of the property, is that going to be adequate? I will have our landscaping folks approve whatever, but I'm sure that I'm looking at, the site plan that I'm looking at doesn't really show a whole lot, so I assume there's going to be more than just what this site plan is showing.
That's correct. There was a resubmittal on the landscape plan, but we will have time to even, tweak that even more if we need to, because there is a bond requirement with this, so.
Good, good.
And we'll work with the city any way we reasonably can.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Not hearing any. We, of course, invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock if you'd like to show up. And again, we'll make a recommendation to all of council. Thank you for coming today. The next item is up for a public hearing by changing the ordinary industry use district and commercial use district classifications within the area bounded by East Mill Street on the north, existing retail business use district on the west, the existing university district, and the state of Ohio property adjacent to the Metro Regional Transit Authority property on the east, and the East Exchange on the south to a retail business use district. Gonna need a map. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The city administration, in coordination with the University of Akron, is seeking to rezone the property known as the Quaker Square property, located at the southeast corner of East Mill Street and South Broadway. Property has most recently been utilized as temporary quarantine housing for University of Akron students. Changing the property from industrial to retail zoning would align the zoning with the property's current use, as well as allow for the types of mixed residential and retail uses that help contribute to a vibrant downtown. At the same time, the planning staff recommends that additional properties further south along Broadway also be rezoned from commercial and industrial classifications to retail. This would include the Broadway parking deck, the former Morley Health Center building, the STEM Middle School, St. Bernard's Church, the College of Business Administration building, the Polsky parking deck, surface parking for Portage Path Behavioral Health, the historic Old Stone School, and a Citizens Bank branch office. None of these uses would become non-conforming uses under a new retail use district, UCH3A3 zoning classification. The relatively short depth of these properties is not conducive for any large-scale commercial development, and the adjacent CSX mainline railroad to the east does not have space for siding to these properties, nullifying any benefits its proximity would provide for industrial use. Planning staff's of the opinion that the proposed rezoning to a retail business use district zoning classification would provide for the highest and best use for these properties along the edge of downtown. Allowing a mix of residential and retail uses along this portion of South Broadway would contribute to a more vibrant and help a more natural and seamless transition between the university and downtown districts. Such, the Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that wishes to testify before the committee reference this conditional use request. Please be sworn in from a representative wishing to testify. I guess we're good for the time being, so thank you very much. Very good. Well, if our friends in the law department are happy, we'll open up the public hearing, even though we don't have anyone here. We'll open up the public hearing, ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor, anyone in favor, anyone against, and anyone against. Very good. We'll close the public hearing, and we'll now open up to questions from committee members at this time. I have a question in reference to the that portion on East Mill Street. I guess that would be the southwest side. Is that already retail?
Well, yeah, the southeast corner, East Mill and South Broadway, the Quaker
Yes.
Square development. Yeah, that was...
No,
Oh.
no. The southwest side.
Okay, on the other
Yeah,
side.
I see that parcel isn't within this, so I'm assuming that it's already retail. Do you know what I'm saying? Is this where that
yes.
deck is?
Yes.
Yeah, is it already retail? Okay. That would just make sense to add that, but if it's already there, it's there. Okay, cool. Any other questions from any committee members? Any council members have any questions or comments? Mr. Malik? Or Ms. Holland? Representative Holland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I note that the Old Stone School is named as one of the reference points for this area, and I'm interested in knowing whether there's currently a plan for redevelopment of the Old Stone School or property.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
Mr. Malik?
Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Antonucci. The write-up mentions the university and the city are working together to discuss the future of the building there for Quaker Square. What have those discussions entailed, and are there any specifics about the uses that we hope to have there?
Mr. Segedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Malik, Planning Committee. So there haven't been really any detailed discussions that I'm aware of, but really the impetus behind looking at this was thinking about the future of both Morley, being that it's not in its previous use, and Quaker Square, and trying to just align the zoning, like Mr. Antonucci said, with current realities. And as he reported out, like a lot of our industrial zoning in this particular part of downtown is a legacy of the 1950s and beyond, or further back in the past. So we like to, if we contemplate rezoning a particular parcel, we like to look at what else is around it, and everything that came before council in this particular piece of legislation, it made sense to shift from industrial to retail. And I think you're all aware, but under our retail zoning, that includes being allowed to be used for residential and office as well. So any of these properties that are rezoned by right, you could do any sort of retail, residential, or office use.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just a follow-up, and this is pretty minor, but there are certain properties that obviously are not going to be retail or business, right? The STEM school, the Broadway parking deck. Is there a reason why we're putting them in this change?
Well, yeah, I would say that the school use actually does align better with retail zoning than industrial or commercial. So, I mean, it does kind of bring it into compliance with code, really, because that's what we have there now.
In some cases, they're non-conforming uses right now.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Question, And I see here we've included in residential, retail space. It looks as though it's the church there, between State and University, fronting Broadway. Just curious about that, if that's
Bernard's. Yeah, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was still in the industrial zone, and we thought just for the purpose of rationalizing it and cleaning it up,
Gotcha.
we would move it to retail.
Consistent.
There's not any plans to redevelop the church.
Okay, all right.
Church is
good,
classified
good.
under retail, so.
It just didn't seem a pro in church, but anyhow. Okay, very good. Further questions or comments? Thank you. We'll now move on to the balance of the agenda. And I'm going to recommend that we take time on the regular agenda, short of any questions or concerns. We'll move into the new list of legislation, which is the ordinance approving the historic designation of 400 South Portage Path, formerly John S. Knight House, as a historic landmark.
Mr. Chairman, members. The John S. Knight House was constructed in 1921 for John S. and Catherine McLean Knight and is located at 400 South Portage Path on a roughly 1.12 acre lot. The home is located a few hundred yards from the Simon Perkins Stone Mansion, the home of Akron's founding family. By 1920, this neighborhood had become an enclave of corporate executives, including the homes of top executives of B.F. Goodrich, Goodyear, and prominent Akron department stores. John S. Knight was the editor and publisher of the Akron Beacon Journal newspaper, which Charles L. Knight. John S. Knight became a Pulitzer Prize-winning publisher and eventually, through acquisition and merger, owned one of the largest newspaper companies in the country. The house was designed by Akron architectural firm of Good & Wagner. Good & Wagner also designed the Portage Country Club and the City of Akron Municipal Building, which we're in, along with numerous fine residences in Akron. The owners of the property, the Summit County Land Bank, have undertaken an extensive rehabilitation of the property for reuse as their office. The owners made every effort to restore the property to its original condition while making the changes necessary to operate as an office. The owners of the property have applied for City of Akron landmark designation. In reviewing the Department of Planning and Urban Development staff has found the application meets the criteria outlined in the City of Akron Urban Design and Historic Preservation Ordinance to define as a landmark. The Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission, Planning Commission, and planning staff recommend approval. Thank you
very much. Thank you. I do believe there may be some folks here that wish to speak. I'm going to ask our law department, should we swear in these individuals at this time, or it's not a public hearing per se, but...
It's not a public hearing. If you're more comfortable swearing, I'm happy to swear them in.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Thank you. You're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If so, please affirm by saying I do. I do. Thank you.
If you please step forward by all means and provide for us your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Riley, staff attorney at the Summit County Land Bank, 400 South Portage Path. We are, as was mentioned, we're here seeking the historic designation. I'd just like to add in tandem to this as well, we're also applying with the state for a historic marker to be placed out front as well that will memorialize John S. Knight and his commitment and impact on Akron as a greater area. I also have Liz Cardarelli. She's our historianist on staff that can speak to maybe some of the steps we took to preserve the actual integrity of the building and the historic nature of it. But just happy to be here and answer any questions about the project.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Thank you.
Elizabeth Cardarelli, Summit County Land Bank, 400 South Portage Path. I brought with me packets of information on the project, including before and after photos and historic photos, if you would like them. In the packet, you will see in the historic photos what the house originally looked like, and some of the materials that we have used in order to move this project forward to bring it back to its glory. The house was slate roofed originally in 1921. When we took ownership of it, it had an asphalt roof, and we have secured a synthetic slate look roof to the property, which brings it back to its former glory. We had the exterior completely restuccoed and painted back to its original look. All of the original windows, which were steel casements, did have to be replaced, but they were replaced with a wood and aluminum window that gives the same appearance of the casements that were there originally. The original south door is still there on the house, and we had a replica made for the east entrance. We did add a porch to our east entrance so that we could have an ADA compliant entry for guests to the night house. But what we did find was that there was the shadow of a porch that was there originally. It was placed somewhere between the 20s and the 80s, and it was gone. And then we found also the structure for a door where we have placed a door now. So we've done everything in our power to bring it back to what it looked like originally. We did build in a side porch so that we could have ADA compliant restrooms on the first floor.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Going to ask if there's any questions from any committee members at this time. Sharon Connor?
Spoke recently with the land bank, and I'm looking forward to a tour now that it's 80 friendly. I can't wait to see it. I love historic housing, so hopefully I'll get to share it soon, and great job.
Thank you.
Questions? Nancy Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question, but I do want to offer my congratulations to Mr. Riley and Ms. Cardarelli and the Summit County Land Bank. This is a local gem, and the work and the expertise that went into this loving restoration is evident every time I drive by. I am so grateful for the care and the expertise that went into this effort, and congratulations. It is truly breathtaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Okay, very good. Is the consent agenda okay on this item?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I can see that Councilman Neal has his hand raised.
Very good. Thank you. Russ Neal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleague. I want to say thank you on behalf of the residents of Ward 4 for preserving that building. It has really enhanced that area. I had a chance to walk through it while some of the renovation was underway. Can't wait to see the finished product. But just thank you to all those who preserved the building and saw the value of the area. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your support, Councilman Neal.
Is there any other questions or comments at this time? Not seeing any. Is there a motion for consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming by this afternoon. Thank you. And with that, the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council is over, and I'm going to turn it back to our clerk, Sarah Viviano.
Our next committee of the day will be the Public Service Committee that will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Mosley, Kamer, Holland, Lombardo, McKittrick. Again, that's the Public Service Committee that will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you.